Everybody Hates Rand is a Wheel of Time podcast that will contain spoilers for all 14 books. So if you're anti-spoiler, stop this, read all 14 books, and come back. We'll be here, waiting.
Our title is a joke and is meant to be taken as such. Everybody in this context refers to us and our cats. You are free to feel however you want about Rand. He's a fictional character. Please don't DM us.
The world is a mess, Dark One stretching out his hand. The dragon's reborn, the fire's been fanned, but everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand.
I don't know what Brandon Sanderson has done to me in this section.
I mean, a lot of horse crimes. It's not just one horse that dies, multiple horses die.
Lots of horses beef it.
And I'm like, hey, must we do this?
I don't think so, Brandon.
I like to live in a fantasy world where the only fantasy is that horses never die.
Oh, that horses are immortal.
Horses are wise, immortal.
And they just are...
They're like Ents.
Benevolent enough to occasionally let people ride on them.
Yeah, they're just like, okay.
That seems chill, dog.
That seems chill. Oh, horses.
I love horses.
We hardly knew ye. Argonda's horse named...
Mighty or something like that.
Fucking Mighty.
Is that right?
Yeah, Mighty.
Mighty the horse.
Mighty the horse. And you know what?
He was very mighty.
He was mighty. How do horses... Every horse has a fucking name in Wheel of Time. And I'm like, I appreciate that devotion to horses having interior lives and personalities.
I do too.
But the way people name their animals is always so funny to me. Okay, this is Everybody Hates Rand, your friendly neighborhood Wheel of Time podcast. I'm Emily Jushaw.
And I am Sally Goodger.
Androl, unfortunately.
This section, I was eating, or I would have fully laughed out loud at how stupid this is.
Besides all of Androl's other skills, he also has a plus 20 to sleight of hand. He pickpocketed the seals of the Dark One's prison off of Mazrim Tem, literally 30 seconds after Mazrim Tem was evilly contemplating them, you know? And it's
like Saruman with his orb.
Yeah. Fucking... So it's like sort of the type of thing you would miss, I would think. Like, pickpocketing is only as successful as however long it takes for the person to realize that something is gone. Mm-hmm. Which is why there's so much in, like, the Ocean's movies about you replace it with something of lesser value, Indiana Jones style.
Yeah.
But, I guess if I asked Brandon Sanderson, he'd be like, of course, Androl had crafted some fake seals to the Dark One's prison and swapped them out, and they were the exact same way because that's how good Androl is at everything. Mm-hmm. And it just wasn't in the text because I expected you to understand that Androl's perfect and has never made a mistake in his life. So, you got me there, Brandon. I guess I can't argue.
It's so stupid. Even more stupid is the fact that Androl is wearing the Mask of Mirrors to look like some other guy. Mm-hmm. And Mazrim Tem, who is, like, cartoon villain-esque in
twirling his mustache.
Fucking scene.
Yeah.
Like, stripped all of his entire personality to just be capital E evil. Mm-hmm. Is like, ugh, you're such an idiot. I'm gonna put the Mask of Mirrors on you so that you look like Androl, and then I want you to go kill Logain. So it's like, what are we doing? Androl is wearing the Mask of Mirrors to look like another guy. And then Mazrim Tem is like, I'm gonna actually just make you look like Androl. Which to me feels like the way magic should work is that it should have fallen off. And Mazrim Tem should have been like, oh, you are Androl.
Oh, hey, what?
Yeah.
Hey, what? Yeah, it's so convoluted. I think it's just meant to be funny.
Yeah.
You know, obviously Androl's not going to go murder Loki.
Would have been iconic if he was like, you know, that's actually a good idea.
Oh, hey, you know what? No. And the next time we see Androl, I think he's giving the seals to Logain. And whether or not he's wearing his double layer of Mask of Mirrors or just his own face is unclear. It's not the sort of thing Logain unobservant king would notice. But, yeah, it was just for the bit, I guess, because Brandon Sanderson was like, I don't know how to end this scene, except that Mazrim Tem sends Andrel away to do his dark bidding.
Maybe I just lack whimsy, and the Wheel of Time is actually funny, and I'm just not getting it.
I don't think this is funny. It's hard for me to be like, haha, hee, when a horse dies brutally on the next page, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, the last battle isn't really a play. I know, I understand wanting to, like, lighten the mood a little bit, but...
The place for whimsy was earlier in this text.
Yeah.
And Brandon Sanderson did try to put it in there, but, as we've talked about, Brandon Sanderson's brand of whimsy isn't endearing to us personally. Okay, fucking Argonda. Argonda's is mostly, like, a fighting scene. He reunites with various other important guys on the battlefield as they are, like, making this new battle plan and trying to take back some territory that they ceded earlier. Let's see. The funny things that happen are that they're like, oh, Matt's still alive. And Matt's dad is like, that's my boy.
I know, it's actually a
like,
very endearing moment, yeah.
That's iconic. He's like, he's unkillable. That little weasel.
Trust me, I've tried.
I love that kid, but he's made of rubber. But the other thing is that Demandred finishes fighting Galad and then has to announce that to the battlefield. The way he's been sort of making announcements periodically, like...
This is your captain speaking.
This is your captain speaking. Hey, I've killed this guy who claims to be your brother?
Question mark?
DNA test inconclusive.
I did put a swab in his mouth when I killed him.
You want him, or, like, what's the deal?
And, like, nobody goes.
Everyone's like, no one even knows that it's Galad.
Yeah, they're like, who are you talking about?
We see this scene from Argonda's point of view. Demandred gives plenty of hints. He's like, the man in white. Blah, 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 blah. And Argonda's, like, busy, so he's like, I don't give a fuck about whoever Demandred's talking about. And then we don't, like, flash to Elaine's point of view or anyone who might reasonably care, sort of, that Galad
is bleeding out.
Yeah, Demandred does clarify, hey, he is bleeding out. This is not a, like...
It's not like a decapitated
this is not a too late for rescue situation. But yeah, I guess everyone's just like, yeah, we don't care about that.
Mighty beefs it. R.I.P.
The horse
Mighty
dies, and it's real sad. Also, from Argonda's point of view, we see some sort of, like, big light show on the other end of the battlefield that's like, attacking the Sharans. I presume that this is meant to be Edwin, who rejoins the battlefield in a couple points of view. So that's fun. So R.I.P. Mighty, the horse.
It's quite gruesome.
Yeah.
It also says a lot about Argonda that he named his horse Mighty.
I know.
It's like something my 6-year-old nephew would name his horse.
Argonda is also like, I miss Ghislaine, my gay lover.
Yeah.
And we're like, yeah, bestie, so do we. Okay, Rand creates his whimsical, philosophical thought experiment in which the Dark One has been killed, his presence entirely eradicated from the pattern. And so the world surface level looks very nice. Everything is groovy. He goes and finds Elaine and is like, she's not like Elaine at all. Elaine's a huge bitch. Yeah. So, and Avienda's also a huge bitch. So when Elaine's like, yeah, Avienda's taking care of children, Rand's like, that doesn't seem like Avienda. Which honestly, kind of hilarious.
Yeah, that's not my girlfriend.
And he just sort of puts together that actually having no Dark One in the world is also bad.
Yeah, I mean, the thesis here is that,
people are good because they choose to be good.
Yeah, thank you. Like, if there's no evil in the world, then no one is actually good because they're not making the active decision to be good and to make good choices, which is a lot harder than existing in some fantasy world where you've never been given a choice.
Yeah.
Which I think is true enough. I mean, it's a much more interesting contemplation of good and evil when you factor in human agency versus these sort of cosmic forces that we've been talking about, it is a little bit ridiculous that Rand is also like, oh no, this is the worst one I've ever seen.
Yeah, this whole thought experiment is a major doctrinal point in Mormon theology, just so everyone knows. Second Nephi, something.
Wow.
I can't.
Should we get Chris on the phone?
Oh my god, I'd sooner shoot myself.
Can we get Bernard on the phone?
Bernard! Bernard, MVP of this podcast. No, yeah, so I don't really have anything to say about that except that it's not just in Mormon theology, obviously, but the coinky-dink of Brandon Sanderson being famously LDS and then having this sort of centerpiece moment of the philosophical debate between Rand and the Dark One hinging on this is funny to me. Theoretically, Mormons are very big into the value of a person's agency.
Sure.
Not trying to start any arguments here about the church's practice of that doctrine, but there we have it. I agree it is true enough. I think it's a compelling thing to think about that, like, and in reverse, we've seen this in the world where there was no light, where the Dragon Reborn has turned everyone into sociopaths. There's, like, no actual value in people just because there's, like, no one's making a choice. You know? And I think it's great that Rand can finally recognize that this is also a bad scenario and that eradicating evil completely will take some value out of the world.
Yeah, I was struggling with this. I will be honest, I read these pages like 20 minutes ago due to having the worst 2 weeks at work that a human being could possibly have. Mm-hmm. But in those 20 minutes, I have been conducting much philosophy.
She's conquered worlds.
Yeah. Philosophical, I could not say that word, philosophical debate. It's just like, I'm having a hard time, again, in these 20 minutes, reconciling something like this, where we are talking about good and evil on the, like, personal level of choice, with Wheel of Time's sort of larger thesis, which is that good and evil are actual cosmic forces in the world. And I know that those things are not actually antithetical. Like, we can take the Dark One and the Creator as stand-ins for different types of behavior. Where was I going with this?
Well, it's just not like the series itself has much to do with people choosing to be good versus choosing to be evil. Beyond the eye of the world a little bit, when we had Balsamon sort of appearing Temptress style to try and blackmail / frighten Rand and the boys into doing his dark bidding, there hasn't been any, like, real temptation for any of the good guys to be bad.
Yeah.
When the good guys do what we have read as bad things.
Yeah.
There's no, like, consequences of that or sort of any moral
absolutely
debate. The closest we ever got was Perrin being like, is killing people bad? Is killing people and, like, sort of being good at it bad? And then Perrin just sort of concludes, no, it's actually fine because I'm still a good person. So when I do it, it's fine.
When I'm doing it for the light. I'm doing it on the side of the light.
I'm doing it for the good. And then, you know, on the other end of the spectrum, we have always these evil people, dark friends, who, like Aravine later in this chapter, will be like, yeah, I did my whole go to the Dark One and then immediately wanted to back out and then couldn't because the Dark One will jump through these ridiculous hoops to make you do his dark bidding all the way back to the beginning. Sorry, I've been saying dark bidding so much. I don't know why that's stuck in my head. All the way back to, like, book 2, book 3, when we had that White Cloak guy who was getting like, hey, every time you fuck up, I'm going to kill another one of your family members in a horrible way.
Yeah.
Like, there's not really choices there.
Yeah, and in so many ways, thank you for kind of distilling that into, like, in so many ways, the, like, Wheel of Time is presenting more interesting moral dilemmas for the few dark friend characters that we get than our actual quote-unquote good guys, who get away with literal genocidal behavior
to them.
Because they are on the side of the light. But then you have, yeah, like that guy was such an interesting example of the guy being like, I do not know what to do because everyone I love is in danger. Or Ervine just being like, I really thought I was given a second chance, but he always seems to find you. There are some instances where people have had to take oaths that have physical consequences on them if they misbehave. All of which is a lot more interesting than our good guys who are given entirely free agency and never utilize that to do many moral choices themselves. So then we come to this instance where Rand is like, oh my god, it really is like the human choice to be good or evil. And it's like, I would feel so good about that if the other 13 and 3/4 of a book was giving me that
Had
as well.
engaged with that at all. Yeah, like there's so much subtext there to look at in terms of morality, but to suddenly make it text here to be like, hey, I really want you to be thinking about people's choices and the choices that they've made, and we're like, oh well, actually I don't think many of the characters have made a lot of active choices. Many of them have been highly reactive or have been forced into situations a la Matt, so actually your whole thesis is kind of falling apart.
Well, yeah, one of the foundational drivers of the text is this whole concept of being Taviran, in that like things will just happen to you, and also you can just make people do
and you can get
other things,
pulled to and fro and put in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
And really your choices don't matter because it'll all work out.
Yeah, and the pattern is weaving around you. And it's like, okay, so what is the thesis here? Is the thesis that we are dealing with fate, which is its own interesting concept, or is the thesis that we are dealing with free will? Are we trying to talk about the push and pull between those things? Like, I'm just a little lost in the cosmic philosophical space.
Yeah, and it is ridiculous that Rand is like, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing of all time. We're like, Rand, people died in the other ones.
Bestie, someone was being tortured.
Yeah, there is some horror for Rand in suddenly realizing that his grand plan is not what he wants. But also, there's some relief in that because you just got to see exactly what would happen. Mm-hmm. And now you know. It's bad.
So you didn't choose not to do that.
Yeah, just don't do that. And it's like, Rand, you also got to see the world in which you won and the Dark One wasn't defeated, just put at bay, and that one was pretty good.
Yeah.
So aim for that.
Yeah.
You just got a whole priorities list laid out for you.
Yeah.
But no, Rand is sinking into despair.
Rand is like, oh no, I won't be the most important person of all time anymore.
Rats.
Shit.
Don't you hate it when that happens?
I wish I could be less important to everyone who knew me. Mm-hmm. I would like to fade into oblivion. I would like to go to horse heaven.
Oh, horse heaven, where Bela is. Speaking of. Well, first there's a Matt point of view where Matt's doing battles.
And he's like, well, now I have the pulse of the battle.
And you're like, okay, great, now what?
Get out of there.
Bestie?
You are the commander-in-chief.
Bitch! No, he's just still there.
Get off the field.
Then we get an Oliver point of view. As the insane scheme to masquerade as an evil caravan, supply caravan, works out, and Fail and the rest of her troops, whoever remains, are teleported onto the behind enemy lines in the fields of Marilorn. Mm-hmm. This works out until Eravine reveals herself as a traitor and, signals the channeler nearby. And Oliver finally makes his impact on the plot by stabbing this woman. The channeler, that is. Which allows Fail to free herself and a bunch of other people to free themselves, yada yada yada. We've bitched and moaned about Oliver's place in this plot for so long, and I'm just going to say, if this was it, that would be great.
Yeah.
I would have been able to live with it.
Yeah.
If it was just like, okay, Oliver was here to stab a woman, that's sort of insane, but he has served a purpose.
Yeah.
Let's let that go. Let's let Fail deliver the Horn of the Lear. But no. Skipping ahead, we go to a Fail point of view as she has to chase after Eravine, who has taken the horn from her. She's riding on Bela. Harnan and Vannon reappear and are like, just so you know, we were never evil. It was all a misunderstanding. And Fail's like, crumbs.
Shoot.
Can't do anything about it now. I gotta find the Horn of Valir. She catches up to Eravine. Eravine dies. Fail, like Min, finally throws a knife correctly. Fail retrieves the Horn of Valir, goes back to get a new horse or something.
Yeah.
The sort of terrain of this whole chase sequence is very unclear.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what the map is for, but...
No, I'm not looking at that.
I ain't looking at... Yeah, I'm not...
I ain't reading all that.
I ain't reading all that. Fail comes back, but is, of course, because she's behind enemy lines, immediately they're like, catch that woman, she has the Horn of Valir.
Yeah. I don't really know what the plan was.
Yeah, no one does. And Fail's like, wow, no one is around out of all my friends and comrades. Hernan and Vannon have disappeared. Talanon's gone. The Cha Fail, nowhere to be seen. Luckily, there's Oliver, a child. Fail's like, I'm so sorry, buddy, but here. Shoves the Horn of Valir at him and then, does a whole... Here, I've got the Horn of Valir, guys, with an empty bag, and then runs off so they'll chase her. Obviously insane. Very contrived.
Incredibly contrived. Just keep going, Fail. She's feeling like, I need a new horse. And it's like, bestie, I do not believe that you, from Saldia, could not accurately ride a horse that was exhausted.
Yeah,
I don't understand the plot here.
It was, fun to have Fail, be on Bela and, throw a knife because Fail is Saldean.
Yeah.
Famously the people who are good at fighting from horseback.
Yeah, it was really satisfying.
That was sick. So if Fail had just grabbed the horn and kept going, I would have been like, this is a good climactic moment. We get to have Fail delivering the horn, coming full circle with her Hunter of the Horn plotline, and, also being true to sort of who she is in the narrative as this cool horsewoman.
Yeah.
Which she has also done in the past. But no, she hands off the Horn of Valir to a child and then runs away and doesn't get another point of view. So we'll have to...
And I let's just be 100% clear. Fail looks at a child, 10 years old, all around her waging warfare. She says, hey, you need to deliver this to Matt. Where's Matt? No idea. Where are we? No clue. Do you have a weapon? No, you just use it stabbing someone. You're a child. Good luck.
Girl, who do you think has the better odds in this situation?
Obviously you, a grown woman who is currently in possession of a horse and other knives.
Yeah.
So of course Oliver also ends up on Bela.
Yeah, because we gotta have Bela be doing all the horse work here. I'm like, hey, we could have had Bela just in one of these scenes.
Yeah, Bela, there are other horses. Bela is my favorite horse, of course.
Yeah, she's
but
the best one.
There are a lot of other horses on this battlefield. So Oliver takes off on Bela. Bela gets shot and beefs it. Rip.
Tragic.
Of all the character deaths, why was this necessary?
It's okay, I will admit to having an emotion when Oliver was like, you were a good horse. I was like, okay, no one gets to talk to dying animals without me being sad about it.
Yeah, it is really sad when you're like,
tragic.
Bela, who left the Two Rivers with us all those times ago and was part of our first chase sequence when Rand was using channeling.
And now she gets to have another chase sequence.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think we're trying to bring back another, Oliver was a jockey in Ebu Dar, so that's, for some reason, as narratively resonant as Fail being Saldean. It's not. It's weird.
I completely forgot Oliver was a jockey.
Yeah. And then, Oliver doesn't even do it,
Yeah.
He still ends up getting cornered in a Deus Ex crack in the earth.
Yeah.
There's just a convenient Oliver-shaped hole for him to crawl into that the Trillocs can't reach him in, leaving him, spoiler alert, literally no other option but to blow on the Horn of Valir and see what that does. Worst case scenario, it works like an actual instrument and calls help.
Beep.
Beep, 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 beep. So bad. Very bad.
It's just, so silly. It's just, like you said, contrived is the only way to put it. I don't want to just be, negative Nancy about Oliver in the plot, because I have personal problems with it, but even from, an analytical standpoint, I'm really struggling to figure out what about this is more thematically resonant than having Matt do it, and I just am
oh, there's nothing.
Yeah.
It's literally just for, stakes and tension.
Yeah.
Like, we can't just get Matt the Horn of Valyr because, I don't know, we have to wonder what will happen if he doesn't get the Horn of Valyr. This situation is also contrived to put Fael in terrible danger, to put Oliver, I guess, in danger, and it's like, hey, everyone's in danger. Like, having Fael run off into the sunset being pursued by villains is not going to be any more freaky to me than, like, who's a character I care about.
Gaul stuck in the world of dreams.
Stuck in Teleron Riyadh. Talmanes stuck in a cave?
Yeah.
That can only be reached by channeling?
You could not describe, this would be my saw trap.
Yeah.
Being like, you just have to wait for someone to teleport you out of there.
I'd be
Good
like,
luck.
okay, what? Fuck. Hey, what? Like, is there oxygen down there, you guys? They're like, we'll starve to death. And I'm like, you'll suffocate.
You'll suffocate.
Unless there's, like, convenient cracks.
Well, there's an Oliver-shaped crack, so there's probably a breathing crack.
Yeah, is it like Oliver, for a second you're like, oh, is Talmanes gonna reach up and yank Oliver down and be like, you're safe with the band of the red hand.
Yeah.
And we're going on our way to find Matt. We're about to be teleported. Again, there are options here.
There are lots of options.
Oh man. Oh, I just wanted to point out one other awful thing that happens, which is we're in Oliver's point of view when they get teleported to the Fields of Marilor. And there's a scene where someone's, like, rude to Fael, and Oliver's like, Fael's so dignified, she could never shut up and cower. And, of course, Fael does. Acting. And Oliver's like, oh my god, how did she learn to do that? And we're supposed to be like, oh my god, it's because Fael was kidnapped and enslaved for several months. I'm glad that that happened to her, because otherwise she wouldn't have been able to keep her mouth shut in this crucial scene. And it's like, hey...
I hate to tell you guys this, but Fael is a grown woman. I think she could have been like, oh no, a bad guy's taunting me.
Oh no.
Fucking nonsense.
For the love. My word.
Well, yes.
Well, yes. It's giving unemployed.
It is. Oliver is giving unemployed. I know you're 10, but get a job.
Jobless, parentless.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Literally jobless and parentless.
My god. Okay.
Go check for dead bodies with the other battlefield children.
Okay, we won't rant about this for the rest of the episode. I promise. We get a Leanne point of view as the Aes Sedai battle lines are sort of breaking apart until luckily Edwene rejoins. Edwene is doing great. Then we see Talmanes in this fucking cave. I simply can't fathom it. The cave. Plato's the cave.
Yeah, that's where he is. There's a sign. Plato's just down there.
Plato's
like, hey,
like, this is my house.
This is my cave.
Cancel
I made
I
mean, a whole allegory about it. Perhaps you've heard.
They are trying to repair the broken cannons.
Nons.
This seems like a fruitless task because we quickly find out that, like, the cannon launching tubes themselves are more or less functional. The problem is the carts that make them transportable. And they're like, we don't have time to fix these. And I'm like, well, that's what you're in the cave for.
Fix them.
To do something about it. And they're like, he could come get us at any time. And you're like, okay, fix one to start. I don't know why everyone's fucking whining. Can we get some solution-oriented people?
Solution-oriented thinking. I have this fight in my job every single day.
My word.
I know everyone's upset, but what is one simple task we can accomplish? Fix one cannon.
Fix one cannon!
Poor Aludra.
Poor Aludra. She's like, hey, guys, can we not
Surrounded by buffoons. Oh, yeah, and then they're singing Jack of the Shadows because Talmanes isn't Talmanes at all. He's an entirely different character.
Brandon Sanderson cardboard cutout. Okay, Logain gets the seals from Androl. He promotes Androl. So
Bit needlessly, I think.
It's like, hey,
that was failing
really
upwards.
Then Logain, carrying the seals instead of, like, passing them off to someone else for safekeeping, is like, I'm gonna go fight Demandrin. And everyone's like, bad idea. And he's like, I don't care. Edwene is doing good lighting, good fighting.
I mean, the lighting's probably good,
It's
too.
because I turned the page and saw lightning. Yeah, Edwin's doing cool. We've talked about this before. Brandon Sanderson kicks ass when it comes to fight sequences, and we're seeing, like, fun things happening with channeling.
Yeah.
Like, Edwin, there's lightning, so Edwin channels a lightning rod. And it's like, hey, that's sick.
You're like, that was solution-oriented thinking.
And believable, as opposed to Andrew's sort of rule-breaking gateways. Yeah. Edwin has her big sangreal, so cool. Oh, fuck. The other thing in the low-gain point of view is that he's like, I know that no one can possibly be as powerful as Demandred, so he must have some massive sangreal. So my real goal in fighting him is to take that for my own. And you're like, hey, I need people to figure out how to write an anti-hero in this text because you are not succeeding with low-gain.
I know, Logain all of a sudden here at the end being like, actually, I did enjoy doing my evil plans. Everything that has happened to me since then has not changed me as a person at all, and I'm still focused on world domination.
And you're like, so...
Great.
What were the last few books about then?
Why are you here then?
What's happening?
Why have you been a character?
Yeah, come on, dude. Okay, anyway. Edwin is fighting Mazrim Tem, which is fun. And there's also a fun thing where Narishma is, like, nearby, and he starts calling the shots for her in terms of what Mazrim Tem is weaving, and I just think that's cute.
I do too. I love it. I love that Narishma gets to play a key role.
Edwin's like, okay, everyone back the fuck off except Laelwyn, because she's my cool bodyguard. Narishma, because he's calling my shots, and Maurice, I guess, because she and Narishma are bonded. Blech. Anyway, I like that.
Yeah, I think it's fun.
Okay, then we get the most obnoxious, and this is saying something, I know. We get one of the most obnoxious points of view in this text, which is Illa, the Tuatha'an, picking through bodies with her husband. This is Aram's grandparents, I think?
Yeah, grandparents. I believe.
Here are some people who are grieving for Aram. Too many A names. Which is refreshing.
Yeah, I thought we were the only ones.
Yeah, I thought we were the only ones who even noticed he was gone. I don't know how they learned he was gone. Like, did someone notify them?
His parents sent a raven.
He sent a wolf.
You imagine you're a tinker, and a wolf comes up, and suddenly just starts talking.
No, the wolf starts drawing in the earth with his little paws.
And it's just Aram on the ground with his tongue
with his eyes crossed out. Yeah. Hey, he beefed it. Sorry.
And then you with the wolf just disappear into the woods.
They're like, no, what's obnoxious about this to me, at least, is how Illa and her husband, Rain, are both so judgmental, and it's like, we're not giving them any grace to make them look like reasonable people. We're just making them look like hugely judgmental assholes. Which it's like, yeah, that is how the Tuatha'an have been largely characterized in the narrative, but I'm so sick of it.
Yeah, I was thinking, again, in my 20 minutes of analysis time, I was thinking a lot about this one, because this one ticked me off, too. This is, like, kind of the final nail in the coffin that the Wheel of Time is a pro-war, pro-violence text. Mm-hmm. Because the Tuatha'an, as a people, have been presented as our non-violent entity. They are pacifist to their core. Like, there's a moment where the husband looks at an arrow and she's like, don't pick it up, and it's like, okay, he could probably touch an arrow and pick it up and give it to somebody who needs it on the battlefield, but whatever. Like, it's to that degree of, like, absurdity. In no way is nonviolence treated as an actual functional way of being. It's treated as absurd, and kind of the whole point of this conversation is the two of them being like, well, you know, like, the Dark One just would have kept chasing people no matter where we went on this planet.
Look, Illa, they had to fight.
Yeah.
Because there was no other options. And she's like, they could have run more. And it's like, okay. You know, you as the reader are like, obviously that's stupid.
Yeah.
And the whole thing just makes them look stupid.
Yeah, the whole thing makes them look dumb. The whole thing makes nonviolence look dumb because it's putting them in the impossible situation of, like, this is a battle that has to be fought, and it needed every hand on the entire planet to make it work. So you guys saying that nonviolence was the answer is ridiculous because we are dealing with such a violent entity. And there's a lot to be said there, but I wanted to provide some alternate reading. If you are interested, both kind of for what Rand is talking about of, like, what a utopia or an ideal community could look like, but also what kind of, like, anarchy and nonviolence can look like, or like a more interesting relationship to the tension between violence and nonviolence. There's a fantasy author, Margaret Killjoy, who herself, I believe it's she, her pronouns, has lived in anarchist communities in the real world and did a lot of like travel in a sort of transient sort of way, and writes really interesting fantasy texts about anarchist communities and how they solve problems. And I know the Tinkers aren't exactly an anarchist community, but I think anarchy and nonviolence and violence interact in really interesting ways. So check out Margaret Killjoy's writing. There's a great little duology of novellas. The first one is called The Lamb Will Slaughter the Lion. The second one is The Barrel Will Send What It May, or something like that. And then a full-length novel called A Country of Ghosts, which is about an anarchist community trying to protect itself from an imperial force and what that looks like for them. And it's very interesting, and I think it's a good mirror to A Wheel of Time, particularly this section of the last battle in general. So,
yeah, that's a productive thing to think about. There are other texts who are actually examining what is going on here instead of this really dismissive hand-waving of the Tinker's whole theology, which is meant to just, like, sort of self-referentially defend what is happening here.
Yeah. Be like, war is good.
War is necessary.
Yeah.
Ultimately. And it's like, okay, we're not going to solve world peace here.
Yeah, and it's also, like...
But the least you could do is, like, give some respect to characters who are choosing not to do
Yeah.
that. Because, hey... You just spent a whole section talking about how people's choices are valid.
What?
Oh my god.
But not when
they're not fighting for people.
Not when they're a bunch of hippie losers. Bunch of socialists. Get a job.
God.
They have a job. They're checking for dead bodies. It's giving job full.
Job full. Yeah, jump scare here where someone, they're like, there's some mercenaries around here. And of course Illa's like, oh... I thought they were such good guys for not wanting to go into the battle, but now I think they're a bunch of losers. And it's like, hey. But anyway, one of them says Hanlon, which is, you may recall, Hatchet Face's name. So, Hatchet Face is on the battlefield looting bodies, presumably.
What the fuck why aren't you dead?
I know, it's so weird. The implication here is that just, like, if a man doesn't want to join the battle, then he must be a serial rapist.
Yeah.
And it's like... Hey guys.
This almost a page, less than a page point of view is like everything rancid about the Wheel of Time.
So bad. Logain fights Demandred, and you guys are gonna be shocked. Doesn't do anything.
In fact, gets his entire ass kicked.
He gets, like, even faster than Galad and Gawain, so...
Yeah.
In the rankings, Galad is still top tier.
Good for him.
You know what? And it's embarrassing. Even Gawain did better than Logain.
Logain comes back for healing and is like got these horrible burns from lava and basically did nothing but distract Demandred for like 2 minutes.
Embarrassing. And lastly, we get another flip to Egg's point of view as she's fighting... Mazrim Tem. It's another good fight sequence. The main things that are happening is that, like, he tries to use balefire on her, and she's kind of preoccupied with this, like, okay, I need to be able to fix balefire. I need to have some way to counter it, because so far there's nothing. So she's preoccupied by that. She does hand Mazrim Tem his whole ass, like Logain before him. He also has to go on the run and teleports away from her.
Yeah.
So you're like, that's my girl.
Yeah, this is, we've mentioned before that, like, Mazrim Tem and Egg is a fun setup because it's, like, leader of the White Tower, leader of the Black Tower. And it is also fun to see Egg just, that meme, the little poem, the tiger is out of its cage.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, Edwin's like, oh, I'm pissed.
Yeah.
Like Applebee's Liz. From Survival 46. Yeah, she's so pissed, and you're like, good for you, girl. I'm a little irritated that you're pissed about Gawain dying, but...
Yeah, it would have been funny
whatever, go off,
you
queen.
Rolled up to this battle just pissed.
Yeah, if Gawain was still, like, alive somewhere. She's
That's
just like, yeah, I'm sick of it. I'm done.
I've had enough of you, Mazrim Tem.
It does beg the question, well, like, sort of. A has this super powerful Sangreal, so does Demandred, so you're kind of like, oh, I kind of want them to fight.
I know, it's like, why isn't she going over there to hand him his whole ass?
Yeah, because, like, it's, you know, we get these scenes right after another. Demandred hands Logain his ass, Edwin, after a little more dithering, hands Mazrim Tem his ass, so we're like, okay, I want those two.
Clash of the Titans, baby.
Clash of the Titans, you know? Get it. So, just saying, Edwin would have been a more appropriate person to kill Demandred than the person who ends up doing it. And
is that also Oliver?
Don't fucking put that curse on my household.
Oliver rolls up with his single knife and stabs Demandred
in the back and
in the kidneys.
Like, we didn't think of that.
Oh shit!
Fuck, a child.
We just needed to snap his Achilles tendons.
I mean, there's
Oliver.
so many there's so many children running around this battlefield anyway. They could have just swarmed him.
Oh my gosh, yeah, what would he do?
What's he gonna do? Kill a child?
Not even Demandred would do that.
Demandred would do that. He's not that evil.
He's in love.
Yeah.
Shendla's there like, please, not a child.
Think of our children. By the way, I'm pregnant.
Demandred, his life flashes before him what he could be if he was embraced fatherhood.
The cat's in the cradle and the silver
one of the Forsaken should have had a kid. That would have been so funny.
Here's me and my evil child.
Or the child is just like, I don't want to be evil, and that's the tension. They're rebelling by being so good.
Yeah, there's the choice. My dad is
Bela.
Demandred. Bela. Oh yeah. You killed him, and I just want to say, thanks, man. He really fucking sucked.
Yeah, you killed my evil dad.
You killed my evil dad.
And I'm so grateful.
Every
little
time-
Hallmark card.
Every time I felt his evil energy pulling into the driveway, I was like, man, I wish someone would kill this man.
I need a farm boy to kill this man. Where's the sheep?
Another ridiculous last battle sequence. Next week we will finish this chapter.
Oh, wow.
Mind-boggling, I know. There's still a bit of book after that to get through, but we will at least finish the long chapter. I shan't recap what has happened since we're up on
I think
time.
it would be, yeah, sorry, that was mostly me talking about other book recommendations.
It's like 30 seconds of that.
I think at the end we should try to do a recap of the entire last battle chapter. Be like,
I do think that would require us to know things about the battlefield that we have purposely remained oblique about.
Yeah, the layout of the land is not my business. One thing I want to do, it's just not my business. One thing I keep wishing I had is like a time count of if someone could be like, 400 hours, this is what happened. Because I'm like, I have no idea how long we've been on this battlefield.
We know it's nighttime now.
Yeah, so it's been, 12 hours?
Yeah,
day?
I think this battle started in the morning.
Yeah.
I assume it hasn't been going on for multiple days, but that's a little unclear. It could have been. But yeah, at least it's nighttime now. Anyway.
The cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon.
Demandred playing evil catch with his evil child.
Just
Just throwing a ball of fire back and forth.
That'd be fun. There's balefire
Yeah.
back and forth. Balefire ping pong.
Yeehaw.
Whoever gets hit gets wiped out of the pattern.
Gets wiped off the face of existence. Isn't this a fun game?
Yay, Daddy! I love this. Child has a little mustache.
Interacting with your father does sometimes feel like those are the stakes.
Yeah. I need to text my dad back. Speaking of which, sorry, Dad.
Okay. Thanks everyone for listening. Thanks to Glenna McKenzie for our theme song. Thanks to our patrons on Patreon and our followers on social media.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Do you have a sign off?
Oh gosh, let's see.
I can do one if you can't.
Yeah, do you have one?
Last night, speaking of Ed's million meals, I go to the bathroom a couple times before I go to bed due to insomnia and psychological, you're just laying there and you're like, maybe if I piss, that would help.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's part of my little ritual. So I'll make appearances and the cats usually are asleep and so they don't care. Last night Ed was hungry, despite having been fed 18 meals already. And Ed is really passive-aggressive about asking for food. He'll sit by his bowl and wait for you to come over, and then he'll start screaming. And he did that. He was, sitting by his bowl when I saw him. And that didn't get me to fill his bowl because it was midnight. So then he embarked on a campaign of noise making in order to get me back out there. He was knocking over toys. He literally, I kid you not, woke up Tybalt in order to get Tybalt to make noise.
Which is like, sometimes you don't think cats are very smart.
Yeah, I was literally laying in bed listening to them sort of scuffle and was like, if he had a person-sized brain, he would be terrifying.
That's Demondred's evil child.
Yeah, it's awful. So yeah, then I had to fill Ed's bowl at fucking 12:15 at night.
I heard her open the door and I woke up. I'm the heaviest sleeper in the world and I sleep with a little eye mask on. So I woke up like a fucking cartoon character and was like, what the fuck is going on out there?
And it was just Ed getting his...
And then he starts crunching so loudly. It's like he's eating bird bones out here. He's such a fucking menace. So yeah, Ed's campaign of terror includes waking up the real weapon of mass destruction in this house.
Tybalt. He's in the basket.
Loudest boy in the West.
Okay, everyone. Thanks for listening.
I'm sorry we talk so much about our cats.
It's the funniest things that happen to us. Bye-bye.
Bye.